Barack Obama is not the only celebrity in this race. On the campaign trail, overflow crowds are going wild over John McCain's running mate, Alaska Governor Sarah Palin. She's especially popular in conservative Christian strongholds like Colorado Springs, where she fired up a crowd of 10,000 this weekend.
With your help, we're going to go to Washington and we're going to shake things up.
To many who flock to these rallies, she's the main attraction, but her role is to be McCain's cheerleader-in-chief.
There is only one man in this election who has ever really fought for you, and that man is John McCain.
A new Gallup poll shows McCain taking a 4-point lead over Obama, a result the McCain campaign attributes in part to enthusiasm over Palin.
I was convinced, but having Sarah Palin just made my decision stronger.
You know, it's kind of uninterested is really what it was. But when I heard her, within 3 minutes, I bought the package.
Democrats question whether Palin, governor of Alaska for less than 2 years, is ready to deal with complicated national and international issues. Democratic vice presidential candidate Joe Biden Sunday said the McCain campaign needs to stop shielding her from the press.
Eventually, she's going to have to answer questions and not be sequestered.
But a short time later, the McCain campaign announced that she'll do her first network TV interview later this week in Alaska.
McCain and Palin will appear at a rally here in Kansas City later this morning. They were supposed to be campaigning separately by this point, but McCain decided they should stay together for now because they're having, quote, a good time, and they're riding a wave of momentum. Maggie?
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. CBS's
That's
Chip
right.
Reid in Kansas City. Thank you, Chip. Joining us now, Dee Dee Myers, President Clinton's former press secretary, and Dan Bartlett, former communications director for President Bush. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to show you that poll again that Chip mentioned because it really is the headline this morning. But this was taken between Friday and Sunday. So after the convention, John McCain is now leading Barack Obama 50% to 46%. We remember last week at this time, after the Democratic convention, Obama had a 7-point advantage. So Dee Dee, let me begin with you. How much credit do you give Sarah Palin for this?
Well, Sarah Palin gets a tremendous amount of credit for that. There's been a tremendous amount of attention paid to her. She has a great story to tell. She obviously had a terrific performance at the convention, and she's re-energized a Republican Party that wasn't very excited about the nominee a week ago. So there's no question that this is very much in response to her and the energizing effect she's had on the ticket. But these bounces don't last too long. I think things will settle back into a nearly tied race very shortly, and then it will be about John McCain versus Barack Obama and what they believe, although I think Sarah Palin will continue to get a lot of attention.
Dan, you and I saw firsthand how she did energize that crowd during her speech last week in St. Paul. But I think there are questions as to whether she can be as good when she's not reading from a script. Do you think that's why it's so important that she give these media interviews?
It is going to be very important, Maggie, but if you would have asked any Republican a month ago if we would have been coming out of this convention with this type of energy and this type of momentum against Barack Obama in a year in which Democrats are supposed to run the table, people would have said you've been crazy. So yes, they've got a lot of momentum, but it is going to be important for Governor Palin to step up to the plate later this week and demonstrate that she's conversant on all the big issues of the day. I think it was smart of the McCain campaign to do this in a strategic, methodical way. And I think in making that announcement yesterday that she's going to start doing these interviews later this week was a good move.
Dee Dee, what do you think about that? Is it customary for the VP to wait this long to talk to the media?
No, it's not. I mean, generally, vice presidents are out there sooner than this answering questions, and I think it's important, as Dan said, for her to begin to do that. There's a lot of questions because she is someone that Americans don't know much about. What about her record as the mayor of Alaska? You know, she raised taxes and left Wasilla, Alaska in debt. As governor, she said she was against the bridge to nowhere, but she was actually for it before she was against it, and sought tens of $millions in earmarks from the federal government over her term there. But also, there's a tremendous amount of questions about the future. You know, the unemployment we found out on Friday is at a 6-year high. 68,000 more Americans lost their jobs last month. What does she think we should do about the economy to address that? What about the 45 million Americans who don't have health care? What about an Iran that's trying to nuclearize itself? So I think there are really important questions. And so this campaign, like all campaigns, will eventually be about the future. And if she wants to be a heartbeat away from the presidency, she needs to answer those questions for the American people, not for the news media, but for the American people.
Well, I'm sure that those questions will all be posed to her. Dee Dee Myers and Dan Bartlett, thank you both.
Thanks, Maggie.
Thank you.